Checkpoint has confirmed tonight that Rangitata MP, Nationals Andrew Falloon, will not seek re-election after behaviour described as unbecoming of an MP. Sources have told Checkpoint the first-term MP sent indecent material to a third party, a woman, not his wife, on at least one occasion after consuming alcohol. Mr Falloon, the fifth National MP to step down in the past fortnight, announced he would quit politics after a meeting with his leader Judith Collins in Wellington this morning. In a statement released after that meeting, Mr Falloon cited concern for his own health and wellbeing and that he had made a number of mistakes. Collins said in a statement that Falloon was facing significant mental health issues. Taking questions at her post-cabinet media conference this afternoon, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern outlined her involvement in the matter.
I was sent some correspondence that was received by my office. I was advised of the general nature of that correspondence. We sought the permission of the person who had written to us for that correspondence to be shared with the most appropriate person, and the most appropriate person was the Leader of the Opposition. That permission was granted, and the correspondence was passed on to the Leader of the Opposition. As far as I'm concerned, though, it is important to maintain the confidentiality in which correspondence is shared with us, and I now see this as entirely a matter for the National Party.
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern there. We have calls into the National Party and Ms Collins, but so far this evening, nobody is fronting for an interview. But joining us now is political commentator Ben Thomas. Kia ora, Ben. Judith Collins must be thinking, wow, she can't get a break at the moment.
Well, yeah, she wanted the experience of leadership, and she's certainly getting it.
So, this is number 13 of departing MPs this election. How much pressure does that put on the party?
Well, look, turnover is good. You do like to see, getting rid of dead wood in some cases. Sometimes people just need a life beyond Parliament, and it is good to, especially if you're sort of where the National Party is, very high vote in the last election. So if they want to bring in new people, they have to have some sort of natural turnover. There's nothing wrong with that per se. You would generally like to do it in a slightly more orderly fashion than we've seen in the last couple of weeks.
In a planned way, and I suppose because Andrew Falloon is an electorate MP, that, I imagine, adds more complication to things.
Well, not just an electorate MP, but also basically sinecure MP. Rangitata, just like Southland, where Hamish Walker has departed from. These are essentially jobs for life, as long as you don't screw things up. And so if you're faced with the prospect of getting somebody in there for, upwards of 30 years perhaps, it really does pay to be able to do some due diligence. You want to see them prove their mettle in campaigning, within the electorate itself, see how they work rooms, see how much they've dedicated to the party, and not be sort of making these snap decisions, which are kind of going to be required in the coming up to the campaign this year.
Obviously, this is an issue related to Andrew Falloon's own personal behaviour, but with a new leader in Judith Collins, how is this going to reflect on her?
Well, you can only control the things that you can control. Obviously, Judith Collins didn't have any input into the conduct that's been alleged or been apologised for. You would say that both the Prime Minister in receiving the complaint and passing it on, and Judith Collins as the Leader of the Opposition receiving the complaint and then acting on it swiftly, have both done what you would expect of parliamentary leaders.
OK, so are you expecting any others to depart the National Party?
Well, I think it would be fair to say I wasn't expecting this one today. Wasn't expecting Nikki Kay last week. Wasn't expecting the Muller resignation. So I think my credentials as a soothsayer, along with everyone else's, are pretty questionable right now. We saw leaders dropping like flies during the last election campaign. We can't rule anything out.
How do you rally from this as a party?
Well, I don't necessarily see it as that. This is not a structural issue. This is one MP's behaviour, which is obviously very contrite about, feels very bad about, and is under a lot of pressure. He's done the right thing and removed himself from the party and from standing again. party's done the right thing in facilitating that or requiring it, whatever happened. So, it's untidy, but at the same time, it doesn't reflect, what we've heard about, say, the instability in the National Party. This is its own thing. You rally the same way that you always rally in an election campaign. Go out there, hold the government to account, sell your policies.
In saying that, though, in at least 2 and potentially 3 of these resignation cases, mental health has been raised as an issue and a concern. I mean, what questions do we need to ask about what appears to be an incredibly bruising environment at Parliament?
Yeah, this has been a question that's been raised a few times in preceding weeks. There are issues of toxic culture in politics and in the media. I think journalists peeking over Nikki Kay's fence and reporting the contents of her kitchen table, that's pretty toxic. I don't think that politicians being subjected to scrutiny, either on their performance, their credibility, their truthfulness, or on their actions, when they get drunk in the function, is unreasonable or toxic. So I think we have to divide those two things pretty carefully.
Appreciate your time this evening. That is political commentator Ben Thomas.